Hi YouTube, welcome to another edition of Horror Hands, and brace yourself because for this video I'm going to be going through the top 5 nastiest video nasties. I've recently done a video on the worst video nasties, thank you to everyone that watched that, and I had a few people saying that they thought I was referring to the worst video nasties as in the most goriest and the most unpleasant. I probably should have specified that in the video, but no, that was just the worst video nasties in terms of quality and general underwhelmingness. But I didn't want to leave anyone hanging, so I thought I'd follow that one up with going through the top 5 nastiest, goriest, most unpleasant video nasties from the official 72 movies that were banned and seized here in the UK. So let's get straight to it. Now I'm going to start by doing something that I don't often do in my videos, and that's I'm going to include a quick honourable mention, as I thought this film just deserved a bit of reference in this video, and that's the original 1978 Faces of Death, a film that's sadly lost a bit of its intimidating mythos over the years as being this sort of pitch black horror film that purported to show all of these real life atrocities and even turn people insane back when they watched it in the 1980s, when this was doing the rounds and making a huge splash on the VHS circuit. But it's a film now that I think we've come to learn is about at least 90% fake. There's numerous makings of and interviews and rhetoric from the special effects people that worked on it, which has somewhat diminished the power that this film has. But I still think it's a good one. It's a strong contender on the video nasties list. I respect what it did for sort of the horror culture and aiding in the VHS boom back in the 1980s, and it still certainly has the power to shock. Even though a lot of it's fake, I think there's a lot of things in it that are done well in this. The electrocution scene is really good, and we still have a bit of real footage in this, which still has the power to shock. But yeah, this one just missed out on the top 5 spots, but I'm a fan of this movie, and it just about holds up enough for it to still be one of the stronger movies on the list, and I just thought I'd give it a quick mention before we get into the top 5. Okay, so the top 5 nastiest video nasties. Starting at number 5, we have Zombie Flesh Eaters from 1979. The first strong, gory horror film that I ever saw as a kid, and boy did this leave a lasting impression on me. This blew my mind at the time, and the gore effects in this are still really impressive today. The various scenes of the zombies biting and chomping on people, flesh being torn, blood gushing everywhere, zombies pulling out organs and brains from people. It's absolutely crazy, and it's just kind of one gory set piece after another. When this one starts, it's just relentless, and every kind of zombie attack and gruesome set piece in this delivers, and yeah, just really packs a punch. There's some really memorable, crazy, nasty scenes in this. Of course, the iconic eyeball scene with the spike going through the woman's eye, the zombie fighting a shark, and then kind of like the climax of this film with the zombies sort of descending upon the church. Really good stuff. This is Lucio Fulci at the top of his game and just really delivering in terms of that gore and the blood and everything like that. And I'm not sure if I was affected by seeing this one so young and it just sort of staying in the memory as being super gory, but every time I go back to this film, it's still as effective as it ever was, and those gore effects in this are just so over the top, but so well done. It's just crazy. So yeah, when I think of like some of the goriest films I've ever seen, Zombie Flesh Eaters is definitely one of those flagship movies. So in at number 5, we have Zombie Flesh Eaters. In at number 4, and Lucio Fulci strikes again, we have The Beyond from 1981, with Fulci upping the gore and the visceral body horror in this one. And this is another one that I saw maybe a few years after Zombie Flesh Eaters, and this is actually one of the first video nasties that genuinely shocked me, most notably for the opening scene where the guy is flayed with the chains and then crucified up on the wall. I was not expecting that, and that really did kind of shock me in terms of its gore and the explicitness of the violence in that one, and the chains tearing the flesh and things like that. It's a really nasty way to start the film, and really makes you take notice and know that Fulci isn't messing around in this one. And it brings it in other ways as well, when there's most notably some sort of really good melting effects in this one. The woman's face slowly being melted away by acid is just really cool. Seems to take forever to happen, and also looks quite painful as well. Most melting effects are kind of cartoonish and pretty awesome in that respect. This one looks nasty and grisly and really unpleasant. You've also got the incredible face being eaten by tarantulas scene, which is both incredibly fake but utterly horrifying at the same time. And again, it's a set piece that goes on forever. It's almost like that film stops everything that it's doing just so it can indulge in this tarantula horror with these obviously fake spiders tearing away at someone's face. But it's just an incredible moment in the film. Yeah, so lots of kind of prolonged, visceral, nasty gore in this one. A lot of it around sort of the body and the face and the eyes as well. Fulci always had a thing for eye violence, and we get treated to that too, with Joe the plumber having his eyes pulled out by the zombie hand down in the basement. But yeah, this one, as I say, just brings a number of really sort of candid, unflinching, gooey, nasty body horror, and just glorious to watch. So in at number 4 we have The Beyond. In at number 3 we have I Spit on Your Grave from 1978, the ultimate grindhouse rape revenge exploitation film, where we see Camilla Keaton horribly violated by the 4 country boys in a rape scene that's just horribly prolonged, goes on and on and on, and that in itself was sort of deserving of this film to get on the list. Not to mention the eye-wincing revenge aspect that comes later on in the film. But for many years, this was kind of the movie that was considered to have the most shocking rape scene in any film, which I would agree with. I'd say Irreversible came along later on and sort of took that mantle. But this movie definitely still has the ability to shock. It's not a nice moment to sit through. And then what she in turn does to the 4 guys later on, even though it's somewhat justified and it's kind of why you're here for the film, it's still really nasty and really painful and bloody and all that kind of thing. So it's a film that really brings it in terms of those video nasty qualities of just the violence and the kills and the general unpleasantness. It is a film that does seem to have nastiness almost interwoven within the fabric of this, and is one that sets out to shock and be as unpleasant as it can. But at the same time, I do think this is a genuinely good film, although that's probably a discussion for another video. But I would say this one, if people are wanting a strong video nasty, this one is one that I don't think you could be disappointed with some of the crazy stuff that goes on in this one. So in at number 3, we have I Spit on Your Grave. In at number 2, we have Cannibal Ferox from 1981. Of course, the Italian cannibal genre was going to make its mark on this list. And here we have actually one of my favourite of all the video nasties, Umberto Lenzi's cannibal classic, Seeing. A bunch of people go into the Amazon jungle to disprove that cannibal tribes still exist. And whilst they're in the jungle, they bump into a couple of really unpleasant drug dealers. And then the whole group in turn fall afoul of a cannibal tribe that proceed to capture them, torture them and eat them in a number of gruesome ways. But this one, you've got kind of various body parts being chopped off, bodies being sliced open, blood and guts pulled out, cannibals feasting on organs. You've got Giovanni Lombardo Radici having his head chopped off and his brains pulled out and eaten. There's some really genuinely nasty stuff in this movie. I do think out of all the Italian cannibal ones, it's one of the most entertaining. It's one of the more fast-paced of these kind of movies and seems more of like a jungle adventure, but it does have a number of unflinching, really gruesome moments in this, and unfortunately it's peppered with a number of real life animal killing scenes, which just of course add to the nastiness of this, but really kind of separate it a bit from movies that didn't feature that kind of thing. But that aside, as I say, I do enjoy this. I think it's one of my favourite Italian cannibal films, but it is really kind of gleeful in its kind of gut-munching approach. And yeah, there's definitely like to be something in this that that shocks you and makes you certainly consider going into the jungle anytime soon. That's for sure. So in at number 2, we have Cannibal Ferox. And in at number 1, the Italian cannibal genre strikes again. We have Cannibal Holocaust from 1980. I don't think it even comes close to another film being quite as nasty and horrifying as Cannibal Holocaust. You could say it's the ultimate video nasty, and I don't know, that's up for discussion. But this one is still unflinchingly disturbing to this day, and just absolutely horrifying, repulsive, gruesome to the max, terrifying, but incredibly well made at the same time. This one sees a film crew, a documentary crew who have gone missing. First half of the movie plays out like a movie where they're searching for this crew. They find their grisly remains, including some reels of footage. And then for the second half of the movie, they watch that back, where we plunge into this found footage-like approach, where we see the fate of the documentary film crew, and it's all played out as if it was real. And again, it's the Italian cannibal genre, so you know you're going to have to get through various real-life animal killings in this one, and they are pretty horrifying in this one. They're all quite gory, really nasty, and a couple in particular are very prolonged, which is pretty awful to see. But having said that, even the kind of the fake human violence in this looks absolutely real and is terrifyingly convincing, and just shot in this kind of real sort of guerrilla filmmaking way that just makes everything about it look real. Even the acting, which in these kind of movies typically was a little bit off, is on point, and these people genuinely look terrified. And from a video nasty's point of view, this has a bit of everything to genuinely shock and horrify you, from extreme violence, torture, rape, the aforementioned animal killings, body parts being chopped up, people being sliced open, beheadings, all kinds of just really nasty stuff that is done in such a realistic way. You've never quite seen anything like Cannibal Holocaust, and it is one that I think has retained all of its power. Is still pretty relevant today, unfortunately, and yeah, stands the test of time incredibly well. It's also helped along by the haunting score from Riz Ortolani, which adds another level of kind of quality to this movie. But yeah, going back to it, when I look at the video nasties, I really don't think there's anything that comes quite as close to being as strong and as horrifying, and frankly as well made as what Cannibal Holocaust was. Director Ruggero Deodato deserves a lot of credit for just putting together such an effective film. You can question its violence and certainly the animal killings and things like that, but as a movie, as filmmaking, this is really something else, and also has a lot of kind of social and cultural commentary as well, which is very interesting. I know Ruggero Deodato at the time said it was somewhat of a reflection and criticism on the sensationalism of journalists and them sort of taking any kind of tragedy and human misery to make money. It was a film that turned the lens on them, so you can look into that what you want. But yeah, if you want a strong video nasty that will horrify you and deeply disturb you, Cannibal Holocaust is the one. So at number 1 we have Cannibal Holocaust. So there we go, guys. That is the top 5 nastiest video nasties in my opinion. Let me know what you think about that. Let me know if you agree. If you don't, let me know what you think the 5 nastiest video nasties are. I'd love to know what you think. So thank you very much for watching and stay tuned for more videos.